Salams and welcome in this tribute to a great man who has died in South Africa. Rest in peace, Pravin Gordhan, a person who has been described in many ways, and I will go through some of the immense tributes that are pouring in from all over the world. He is known as an outstanding revolutionary, a leading intellectual, a man of morals and principles, and strong like the baobab in a storm. The baobab is a tree in southern Africa, a very strong tree in the desert, and is the only form of life for thousands of miles around. It is a tree that gives you food as well as water, and it stands against the storms of life, and that is how Pravin Gordhan has been described. Let's look very briefly at the tribute to this amazing human being, and this is also especially for the Gen Z and for the youth. Remember that today we have got a free South Africa in 1994. This freedom did not come easy. We had people like Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, we had great, the Pahad brothers, the Ahmed Kathrada, so many others, and including that list of greats is Pravin Gordhan. So our condolences to him, his family. He is survived by his wife Vanitha and his daughters Anisha and Priyesha. Our condolences to the wife, the children, the grandchildren, all who knew him and all who are honored to have known him. He's been at the forefront of the struggle for the liberation of South Africa for more than 50 years. So this is a lesson for the youth. That please remember, today you're living in a free and democratic South Africa, but there were huge challenges, and you needed people like these, people with principles, with morals and ethics, who had a straight moral compass, and who knew the difference between right and wrong, and who stood up with the banner of social justice to say that apartheid is wrong and apartheid needs to come down. So it was an insurmountable mountain. It was a Mount Everest, but people stood firm despite the obstacles, despite the hardships. And it's not only the stalwarts, it's not only Pravin Gordhan who suffered and went through the difficulty, but also his wife and his daughters and his family and his circle of friends. So let's look at some of the fabulous tributes that have been pouring in for this great human being. And it is a loss to South Africa, but we are proud to have him, and many people have called him the hero of South Africa. The breaking news: ANC Stalwart and former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan dies. His final words. Listen to the final words of this beautiful man. He says, "I have no regrets." No regrets. And he says it twice. And anything that's said twice is an emphasis. I have no regrets. No regrets. We have made our contributions. He is survived by his wife Vanitha and his daughters Anisha and Priyesha. And our congratulations to the daughters and to the wife, that this was an amazing man who was in your home. And thank you for your support and for your love. And you all suffered together with this great man. And we as South Africa are paying our tribute and our thanks to Vanitha and Anisha and Priyesha and the grandchildren and the families of Pravin Gordhan, of Honorable Minister Pravin Gordhan. And I'm sure his parents must be very, very proud, of this great man, His parents have passed, but they must be very proud of this great man and the contribution that he has done to the South African landscape. Pravin Gordhan passed away at the age of 75, surrounded by family, friends, and comrades. He expressed that he had no regrets about his contributions in the liberation struggle. Gordhan had been hospitalized prior to his death, and his family confirmed his peaceful passing in the hospital. The ANC has called upon all members and citizens from all walks of life to honor former Minister Pravin Gordhan's memory. And this is my contribution to Pravin Gordhan. This is my video. Please share it with everyone in South Africa and elsewhere in the world. The ANC has said we must honor and acknowledge this man. So I am doing so, even though I'm in a wheelchair. And I've got spinal disability. I've been shot three gunshots. Criminal invaded my home. So from my bed, I'm paying tribute to this great man, because it is because of him that we've got religious freedom, we've got political freedom, we've got economic freedom, because of the lessons from Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, our father. So the party applauds Gordhan for his activism against the oppressive apartheid regime, noting that he was part of the underground structures, the labor and mass democratic movement, and Umkhonto we Sizwe. His passing, the party applauds Gordhan for his activism against the oppressive apartheid regime. His passing serves as a solemn reminder that the work to transform South Africa is far from complete. Let us draw inspiration from his courage, from his dedication, from his unwavering resolve as we continue our collective efforts to build a better, united, and prosperous nation for all the peoples of this great land. We send our, this is continued from ANC, this is an ANC statement. We send our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones during this difficult time. We stand with the people of South Africa, the entire ANC membership, and all progressive forces across the globe in mourning this loss, the ANC party said in a statement. In brief, Gordhan's educational background includes a D.Tech degree in business administration from the Free State Central University of Technology, along with honorary doctorates from UNISA and UCT. Gordhan was deeply involved in the struggle against apartheid with connections with the Natal Indian Congress and the African National Congress underground activities. He also chaired key transitional bodies leading to South Africa's first democratic elections. The statement said that Gordhan's message to friends and family was, and I like to repeat this, no regrets, no regrets, no regrets. And we as South Africans are honored to have stalwarts like that as part of the struggle. Gordhan was hailed by the Ahmed Foundation as a champion against corruption, who endured massive pushbacks against a campaign to clean governance and anti-corruption drive. He was linked to the NIC, and that's where he got involved in the ANC's underground activities as an activist. Gordhan was previously the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service from 1999 to 2009. Between 1991 to 1994, he chaired the Convention for a Democratic South Africa, CODESA, and he was co-chairman of the Transitional Executive Council, which prepared South Africa for the country's first non-racial elections in April 1994. So he was one of the founding architects who shaped South Africa together with our president, the Honorable Executive President, His Eminence, His Excellency, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. As a Member of Parliament from 1994 to 1998, Gordhan chaired the parliamentary committee that focused on the implementation of the new constitution and the transformation of local government in post-apartheid. The Daily Maverick described Pravin Gordhan as a baobab tree who stood firm against all forms of life. Pravin Gordhan's 50 years of public service in South Africa took him from a young anti-apartheid activist to a determined taxman and finance minister, and eventually a central figure in the battle against state capture, standing strong despite relentless challenges and attacks. And we needed a man like this, a strong man who stood firm in the storm. The storm came, but he said, I will stand firm like the baobab tree. Pravin Gordhan died during the early hours of Friday, 13th of September, 2024. After his retirement, Gordhan fought a short and courageous battle with cancer. And here's just some very quick tributes. Pravin Gordhan, the quiet strategist, an organizer, a doer, and an activist. Another tribute, farewell to a brother, patriot, and fierce fighter. We are all the poorer for the journey ahead. Speaking outside the home of Pravin Gordhan, after a delegation from the ANC visited the family, Fikile Mbulula said the country has lost a giant. The interim South African Airways CEO John Lamola says Gordhan's love for SAA as a state asset during his tenure as both finance minister and later as public enterprise minister was unquestionable. This was ably demonstrated in our many times of working with him to save the airlines during business rescue and the challenging COVID-19 days. The support for our work as SAA executives was steadfast. Even in the most difficult of moments, he carried the torch for the survival of the national carrier until his last days. His most abiding legacy will be his exemplarily selfless service to South Africa, a patriot extraordinaire, a democratic disciplinarian, and a champion of human rights. His watchful eye and sharp intellect will be missed, Lamola said. Next tribute, Transnet Board Chairperson Andila Sanku reflected on the death of former Public Enterprise Minister Pravin Gordhan. One of Gordhan's final acts as minister was appointing a new Transnet board. Said Sanku about Gordhan, we worked well with Mr. Gordhan in an open, transparent and honest way. There was deep resonance between the board and the executives at the levels of values, integrity and passion for doing what is right and what is good for the economy and the people of South Africa. This is indeed a great loss to the country, the Transnet board and the Transnet family abroad. We will remember him for his frank, no-nonsense approach, his focus on clean governance and his drive to change our country for the better. Next tribute. The Business Unity South Africa, BOSA, BOSA, extends its deepest condolences to his family, friends, and colleagues. We honor his immense contributions to both South Africa's struggle for democracy and his continuing efforts to build a thriving, just economy. His commitment to fostering ethical leadership and building our country, both economically and in addressing our social problems, has left an indelible mark on the business community and on the country, our beautiful land, South Africa. Kes Kuvadia, the CEO of BOSA, added, Pravin Gordhan was a man of immense integrity and dedication. His fight against corruption and his commitment to ethical governance in South Africa stand as examples for all of us. He was not only a public servant, but a true patriot who made tremendous sacrifices for our country. His efforts in working with business to address the socio-economic issues in the country, as well as the upholding the values of democracy, have left a legacy that will inspire the future and current generations of youth and elderly and middle-aged people. I had the honor of knowing Pravin as a comrade, a friend, and a colleague from our work in the struggle for democracy up to Pravin's role in government. His leadership qualities in all phases of our work together stood out for his demands on ethical behavior and empirically based deliberations with a consistent commitment to our country and all our people. What an amazing human being. What an amazing human being, Pravin Gordhan. And there's some more tributes. So stay tuned. There's some more tributes. Former Finance Minister Trevor Manuel. Listen to this tribute because there was one out of the sea of positive contributions. There was one rare little bit of a downside. And former Finance Minister Trevor Manuel addressed the statement that the EFF released this morning. So I won't go into the EFF statement. I'll just say what Trevor Manuel and what the daughter of Pravin Gordhan has to say. So this is what Trevor Manuel has to say. Anybody who knew Pravin, anyone who met Pravin, would be able to confirm that his life and lifestyle was completely against every aspect of greed, corruption, and vanity. And Gordhan's daughter, Priyesha, and thank you, Priyesha. Thank you for standing up for your father when he is not in a position to defend himself today. So Gordhan's daughter, Priyesha, also addressed the EFF statement, and this is what she says. This is the words of a daughter who loves her father. Her loves her father immensely and stood by him during his struggle. And this is the statement from the family. And this is what Priyesha has to say. With regard to my dad, he was a very disciplined cadre of the movement. So I'm going to follow in his footsteps and not say anything out of turn about the upsetting statement that the EFF has released, she said. Wow, what a noble gesture. That means you don't go down to the level of the sewer. She remained honorable despite the abuse. Wonderful. Strong word, Priyesha. Very well done, Priyesha. You are the daughter of your father. Very well, alhamdulillah, praise be to God. Priyesha added that the attacks Gordhan had faced since former President Jacob Zuma's presidency were not easy on her father or the family. Despite this, the former minister never faltered. Let's hear some more on what Priyesha has to say. She said, as difficult as those attacks were, knowing that my father was an incorruptible, honest human being who has only ever served the public to the best of his ability, as difficult as these attacks were to endure, we endured them for the country, and my father did not give up. He was a soldier and he was a fighter, Priyesha said. Well done, Priyesha. To you, to your sister, to your mom, what an amazing man, what an amazing father you'll had, what an amazing husband, what an amazing human being. And our condolences to the family and to all that knew him. Next, Sheila Sisulu, the first black woman to represent South Africa as an ambassador to the United States, shared some memories she had of Pravin Gordhan. Today, we celebrate a formidable comrade, a baobab, a man who was able to withstand any weather and inspire everyone he came across, Sisulu said. Next, former Minister and ANC Stalwart, Derek Hanekom, also shared a message about the late Pravin Gordhan, saying, a humble servant of the people has fallen today. He credited Gordhan for profoundly influencing his life and encouraging South Africans to embody the spirit of Gordhan and fight for democracy in South Africa. Hanekom went on and said, the biggest tribute we can pay to Pravin is to carry on the fight. He would have liked us to carry on with the struggle for a non-racial society. Next, paying tribute to Gordhan at the Nelson Mandela Foundation, former Deputy Finance Minister Msebise Jonas said Gordhan fought for a democratic South Africa with excellence, adding that he was saddened by his death. He went further and said, what makes it even sadder is that 6 weeks ago, we all gathered to celebrate Pravin Gordhan's exit out of public service. I was thinking he was probably gearing up for the next battle. Little did we know that the battle he was preparing for was cancer. PG was a revolutionary by excellence. His revolutionary credentials stem from an absolute commitment to the South African people. He praised Gordhan for taking a stand against state capture, adding, "The most difficult thing for any activist is when you stand against your fellow comrades." But PG told us one thing, and listen very carefully to this, Gen Z, please listen to this. When it matters, you have to stand against your own people. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Until his death, PG was so focused on trying to deal with issues of corruption. Next tribute. The Ahmed Kadrada Foundation is holding a media briefing on behalf of the family of the late Pravin Gordhan at the Nelson Mandela Foundation premises in Houghton in Johannesburg, South Africa. Nishan Bolton, the foundation CEO, said Gordhan will be laid to rest in a state funeral in Durban on Thursday. A private cremation would follow. Next, the South African Revenue Services, SARS, sends its condolences to the Gordhan family. Pravin Gordhan's unwavering commitment to the public service has left an indelible mark on South Africa's economic landscape. Gordhan was a SARS commissioner from 1999 to 2009. Next, the Natal Indian Congress and United Democratic Front activists Karuna Mohan and Dr. Pingla Udit paid tribute to Pravin Gordhan. Following the revival of the Natal Indian Congress in 1971, this is what they have to say. "We met Pravin Gordhan when he initiated an activist forum in Durban. Our collective memories are of a fierce, resilient, yet patient and caring mentor. He shared his intellectual thinking, his organizational abilities, and his political astuteness with many of us, with a dedication to bringing about change in the country. He was humble enough to admit that people younger than him had more innovative ideas and was quick to adopt them." And that tribute comes from Karuna Mohan and Dr. Pingla Udit. Next, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbulula says the ANC salutes this fallen hero of our struggle and expresses appreciation for the service to this country, which he served with diligence, dedication, and courage, even in the face of adversity. Next, the African Christian Democratic Party pays tribute to Pravin Gordhan with the following words. "Mr. Gordhan was one of the few persons who stood boldly to expose and fight back against state capture. Several unsuccessful attempts were made to discredit him and taint his public image, but this cannot and will not diminish the character of a principled man many have come to know." Next, beginning his speech at the signing ceremony of the Bella Bill at the Union Buildings in Pretoria, President Cyril Ramaphosa said he had the opportunity to visit former Minister Pravin Gordhan in hospital on Thursday night. And this is what the President has to say. "I was able to get a moment to speak to him, even though he could no longer hear me. But it was a sad moment for me to be able to watch him as he was passing on his journey to another world. He was one of the most principled and courageous freedom fighters that our nation has known and produced." He said he had decided that there would be an official funeral for Gordhan in the coming days to say our goodbyes to him as a nation. Next, Build One South Africa, BOSA, has joined other political parties in extending condolences to the family. This is what they used to say. "During the period, the country experienced strong economic growth and fiscal responsibility. His leadership at SARS was exemplary and played a significant role in South Africa's economic success during that time. His many years of service to South Africa will not be easily forgotten. May his soul rest in peace." Touching on the late Pravin Gordhan's service to South Africa, former executive director of the Helen Suzman Foundation, Nicole Fritz, said, "PG's passing, while deeply sad, is a reminder that we can have both in our political appointments and public servants an unwavering commitment to transformation, economic inclusion, and the highest ideals of our Constitution, and an unimpeachable personal integrity. He gave it all." Political analyst Justice Malala has this to say, "Courage is speaking up and acting when it's needed. Before 1994, Pravin Gordhan fought apartheid. In the tragic 2010s, he spoke up against state capture, Jacob Zuma, the Guptas, and the looting of South Africa. Pravin Gordhan had courage. He was a hero. Hamba Kale Imkonto." Eskom board chairman Nteto Nyati offered his sincere condolences to the family and said, "Pravin gave Dan Marakani, Eskom chief CEO, and I all the support we needed to be successful. We thank him for being an advocate for the Eskom board and management." The DA has hailed Gordhan for his contributions, and this is what they've got to say. "From his earliest days as anti-apartheid activist to his former tenure as SARS commissioner and a cabinet minister, Gordhan dedicated his life to building a better South Africa for all," said the DA. It then Minister Gordhan's commitment to protecting our democratic institutions, especially during this time as Minister of Finance, will forever be remembered as a cornerstone of his legacy. His bravery in the face of immense pressure, as he stood firm to safeguard the nation's future, is an inspiration to all of us who strive for good governance and integrity. Patricia Jalal's good party. Gordhan spent most of his life fighting against injustice toward a free and better South Africa for all. His leadership during the transition to democracy and later in the public sector reflected unwavering integrity and dedication to the country. Defend Our Democracy DOD has this got to say: two aspects stand out in his remarkable life and struggle: developing theory and practice of mass mobilization and organization against apartheid, and taking a principled and steely stance against corruption and state capture in our country. DOD praised Gordhan for standing as a towering inspiration to the popular movement against corruption and state capture, and provides stimulus and resolve to civil society organizations to combat corruption and the capture of the state so apparent under the rule of former President Jacob Zuma. South Africa is poorer without a leader of the caliber of Pravin Gordhan. May his soul rest in peace. And I would like to echo that, and this is a tribute from myself, Dr. Ahmed, to a magnificent human being, Pravin Gordhan of South Africa. He is the son of South Africa. He is the soil of South Africa. He is a great man and a revolutionary, and we remember him with fondness. Our condolences to him, his wonderful wife, his wonderful children, and his family, and all those who love him. Stay well, look after yourself, and let's take courage and inspiration from this great man who took South Africa forward. And he was a champion among champions, the elite of the elite, who took this country from out of apartheid, and they climbed Mount Everest, and they showed us that it can be done, and you don't quit despite the hardship. You be stoic and be strong and you be firm. Thank you, Pravin Gordhan, for your contribution to making South Africa a beautiful and wonderful land, and may the legacy of the struggle of these great stalwarts not be wasted. Let us take this journey forward. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.